and we are Experiment Nation. I have been working as a CRO manager for the past 6 years. I worked for 4 years for a website called La Maison du Whisky, selling spirits on a dedicated e-commerce website. Today I would like to deep dive into how to conduct customer-centric diagnosis. As a CRO working internally for a private company, I often feel like my mission are driven by immediate business requirements. I'll give you an example. I'm working for an e-commerce website, and from time to time it doesn't perform at its best because of seasonality, because of other reasons. And I'm asked to conduct A/B tests on offers, banners, and popping, which are very often degrading the customer experience. So what I want to say is we tend to forget why we are putting all this effort, why we are being busy every day. Is it for the business or is it for the customer? So what I'm trying to say is, yes, the company needs to make money to pay me, I get that. But having a customer-centric approach is creating value for the customer in the way that it creates value for the business. Just a few words about the topic so I can give you a little bit of context. I've chosen to talk about diagnosis because it's at the heart of our work as CRO. It is a moment where we need to put our detective hat and try to understand where our customers struggle and how we could make their life easier. The purpose of this quick session is to help you to make sure your research are 100% completely customer-centric. This session will be divided in 3 parts. The first part will be focusing on the quantitative part of the research, where to deep dive into your analytics. The second part will be more focused on the qualitative part of the research, so the why customers are doing this, understand why a phenomenon is happening. And the third part is helping you to build customer-centric questions. Okay, so let's start with the first part, the quantitative analysis, where to deep dive in your website to understand where and when your customer is leaving. Many times in my career, I've been asked, for instance, to do some A/B tests to highlight a specific category on the website. This could not be less customer-centric. It would be if we find out that the customer is struggling finding the category. But if it's only for business purposes, why are we doing this? So what you need to do when you run your quantitative analysis is having absolutely no assumption on where and when your customer might be leaving, and deep dive into your analytics, BI, Content Square, Google Analytics, whatever you have. Try to look for places where your customer is struggling and then goes, or try to look at your inbound journey and understand where and when your customer goes. What you need to look for is exit pages, bounce rates, and also if you are trying to understand where on a form your customer is leaving, there is a tool called Zuko, which is pretty useful, who tells you which field of the form your customer is struggling with, and how long it took for every field to be filled. So that could be a good help also as quantitative analysis. Okay, so in the second part of the session, we are going to see how to conduct customer-centric qualitative research. First, I'll give you an example that I read on the CRE book about method marketing. Method marketing is a way to impersonalize your customer. This is an approach which is very inspired from acting. Actually, Robert De Niro used it in before filming his movie Taxi Driver. he arrived a little bit before in New York, and he was actually hired as a taxi driver for a couple of weeks. So by the time he started the movie, he was not a Hollywood actor anymore. He was an actual taxi driver with the mentality, with the impression, with whatever comes with the job he had. And that's why he was so good in this movie. So what you have to do, similarly to this, is to impersonalize your customer and try to think as he would think. And qualitative research is about understanding why. Quantitative is about understanding where and when your customer is living your journey, and the qualitative research is about why is your customer living. So by impersonalizing your customer, you will be more able to understand how you should conduct your research. You need to list all the point of contact you have with your customer. Might be sales people, might be chat, might be social media. All these point of contact have to be listed, and it's you to understand which of them will be the best for your customer to have. If you are talking to a busy businessman or a young teenager, you will use a different platform or type of research for them. For instance, will you use a survey? Will you watch session recording? Will you conduct interviews? Will you call them? That's for you to decide, but based on how your customer would think. Once you have a couple of methods, from there you need to test. Obviously, we are in experimentation, so you might also have impersonalize your customer not exactly the right way, and you need to change that according to the little test you will carry on. For instance, if you see your response to a survey are not that great, but through interview, conducting direct one-to-one with salesperson is working better, then you might have to direct your research in that way. The third part of this session is dedicated to the formulating customer-centric question. As humans, when we are interviewed, we tend to want to have the good answer. We tend to want to please our interviewer, and we need to avoid that. One way to prevent your interviewee to try to have the right answer is to ask them to describe you as they would describe you to a friend. This way, they are more likely to be more trustful because they're talking to a friend, because they're visualizing speaking to someone they know and to whom they can't lie or they wouldn't want to lie. This is what we do for the NPS, for instance, where we ask customer to rate how much they would recommend this company to a friend. As humans, we also tend to forget the bad and remember only the good. That actually happened to me quite often with boyfriend, and we need to avoid that for our interview too. So how do we get customer to remember the bad? Even if it hurts, it will help you understand what goes wrong. One question that really helped me tackle what goes wrong on my website, I took it from the CRE book, who themselves got inspired by a TV program showing military assault course, where candidates had to go through rope swings, climbing nets, muddy pool, and at the end of the course, the TV presenter was asking the candidate what was the worst obstacle they had to go through. And we kind of adapt that to the business and come up with a question: what nearly stopped you from buying from us? And that's a question that really helped me at Sage, understanding where the customer were afraid, feeling, I don't know, left out, not understanding, where they felt the product was not good enough. I added this question to the review email where customers need to give a review on the product. They were also asked that question. So yeah, I advise you to do that. It helps customer remember what went bad in their experience in their customer journey, and that will really help you exactly knowing what your customer are going through and what's difficult to them. Other generic advice I would give is ask open questions so customer can be free to express themselves on how they felt, what they liked, what they disliked. What's very important too is to understand their feeling. We know that the buying process is driven mostly by emotional, and then the rational brain is only coming to rationalize the purchase, but the purchase is made with the emotion. So don't hesitate to ask customer how they felt. Are they like not giving example, asking open question, but making sure you actually deep dive into your customer emotional state when he's buying. Once you have all of that, it will be easier for you to understand whether you're on the right direction or not. Did you appeal to the right feeling? Did you not? Is your customer journey right? What are the obstacles, etc. That's the end. I hope everything I said helped you in a way, and have a good conference with Experiment Nation.